Hello, everybody. I wanted to take a minute to kind of give you the philosophy of Mountain View Lutheran School with respect to our assessments and how we use the tests that were given back in October, the Iowa tests, so that you can have a better idea as to how we do what we do and why we do it, and so that you can also see the emphasis we put on the individual student. You will be receiving, if you have not already received, an envelope with a letter from me explaining some of this stuff, as well as the test scores of your child or children. On that results page, there are two things that I'm going to be discussing with you of significance. One of them is the Lexile score, and this is mentioned in the letter. Lexile score is a fantastic tool to use because it allows you as a parent to send that information out maybe to loved ones or even use it for yourself, because you can go onto the library databases around here as well as online bookstores or the online shopping of bookstores or searches and find books that fall into that same Lexile range. So the Lexile score is a range, and the way that range is set up is the lower end of the range is the score that if your child gets a book in that range, they're going to be able to read it easily, understand all the words, no problem, no stress, nothing wrong with that. The higher number is the number that says your child can read the words, may not be able to understand them all, and especially not understand them out of context, and will just need more help. Nothing wrong with that. Those are great books to be reading as well because it allows us to grow the mind and help us better understand context and all those things that are so important when it comes to reading, because so much of learning is what you can read and what you can process. And we process things not just in word on paper, but by what we hear as well. And the other great thing is that either one of those is fine. There are times when you want something easy to read, and there's times when you want something more challenging to read. And as a child, sometimes you want something right in the middle. That's fine. But either way, we want to start pushing up towards that higher number because it increases our students' reading stamina, an important factor as they go into education and into the world where there is a lot of things that they have to read. Excuse me. So that's the Lexile score. Very important. The next thing I want to discuss with you is the national percentile ranking. On that piece of paper, there's a whole lot of horizontal bars that shows your child's performance on national percentile ranking. We as a school don't place that much emphasis in national percentile ranking. Let me explain to you why. National percentile ranking shows of 99 students, so think of your child or children, 99 children, same age and grade as your child or children, taking this same test, your child, that number, say it's an 82. If they scored an 82nd percentile, that means that of the same of the same students who across the nation who took the same test, same age, same grade, 82nd percentile is where your child scored. Hypothetically, that means that they did better than 81 other students, and they did not perform as well as 17 other students. That's good for us to know as a school because we get to look at this information and say, okay, where are we lagging in terms of our curriculum? Where do we need to make changes? What is just not okay? We need to make some changes, maybe in the textbook series, maybe in how we're delivering the curriculum, maybe in parts we're using of our curriculum. So there's a lot that we as a school gain from that. What you as a parent, as a family gain from that, in my opinion, my philosophy is very little. Because here's the way I'll say it again. They scored 82nd percentile. 99 students in comparison, they scored better than 81. How many of your children do you have coming home? How many of your children, same age, same grade, are coming to your house every day? One. Just one. So while national percentile ranking is important, it's not the most critical thing for us. We're more concerned here at Mountain View Lutheran about how that individual child performs and how that child does compared to herself or himself. Not how they do compared to complete strangers from all over the nation. Is there a time and a place for that? Yes, there is. But in the day-to-day operation of school and how we use these scores to address areas where the child needs to be challenged and areas where the child needs to be supported, national percentile rankings do not help with that. So we go with grade equivalency. Grade equivalency basically says the year, point, month. So if a child scores in a 6.2, that means that they performed 6th grade, second month of 6th grade, 6th grade, second month on that test, meaning that a child in their second month of 6th grade scored as well as your child did on a test of the same material. That does not mean that your child should be put into the second month of 6th grade. That's not at all how you want to look at this. It's not the best thing for them academically because there will be a lot of gaps, and that's not at all the best thing for them socially and emotionally. You are creating some big problems when you start shoving them ahead just for the sake of a number says that they can do it. So let's be careful when we look at it in that way. It simply means that your child scored as well as a sixth grader in their second month did on the exact same test. But again, we're looking at it more in terms of how the child scores compared to herself or himself. Now, we'll get back to some of that in a minute. I want to show you some information that will help you. The scores I'm going to be showing you, these are from students that aren't even here. They're from teachers that aren't even in the same grades as they're teaching or even here anymore. So -1. So I just want to tell you that right now. I pulled up some old stuff because it's easy to use, and I darked out all the names and information to make it easier. I'm going to show you this right here. And I'm going to show you a little bit about why, a better explanation in terms of national percentile ranking sort of grade equivalency. All right, so I want you to look right here. There's the expected GE. This is expected grade equivalency. Hope you can see that well enough. Expected grade equivalency is the child in first grade, second month. Why second month? Because they took this test in the second month of the first grade year. As a class, so they're expected to do 1.2. As a class, they scored a 1.6, and that's great. That's a 0.4 difference. They performed better than they ought. That puts them in the national percentile ranking of 78th percent. Jump down here to third grade. They're supposed to score 3.2. They scored 3.6. Same differential, and yet a much lower national percentile. So this shows you right here the inconsistency that there is in national percentile ranking. And then look again here. Fifth grade this year scored at a 5 point, they're supposed to score 5.2, they scored 6.1. That's almost a full year ahead of where they're supposed to. And yeah, that's only the 66th percentile compared to the 67th percentile, a 0.4 difference. So you can see the glaring difference between the two and why we focus on grade equivalency, and that part I'll even explain more in a minute. But again, they each have their place. They each have merit. National percentile ranking is most helpful to us as a school because we can look at a whole curriculum, a whole program. What are the global changes that we need to make? Whereas the grade equivalency scores say, all right, scrap all that to the side, push all that to the side, and let's look at an individual grade. How's the individual grade doing in this area so that I as a teacher can look at what I need to do for the whole grade, the whole class, and then more importantly, get that out of the way, individual child. What do I need to be doing to challenge this child? What do I need to be doing to help this child grow, maybe in an area where they weren't growing as much? And this can get confusing, so I'm going to avail myself to you of any questions that you might have and maybe even further explanation. But I just want to make a quick one today. The other thing I want to explain to you about grade equivalency before we go into looking at numbers is how our teachers use these scores. They all get the school-wide how we perform paper. And in fact, Friday at our professional development meeting, we're going to talk over those scores. We're going to look for trends, but we look at those as national percentile ranking. And then we also look at it in terms of the grade equivalency. Every teacher gets these scores broken down for them. I take all the scores and I manually input them into this spreadsheet that I'll show you in a minute that allows us to see how each child performs year to year to year. It's called longitudinal tracking. And it allows us to see how they did in first grade, second grade, third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade. Oh, but my child has only been here for 1 year, whatever the case may be, or this is my child's first year taking the test. That's all good, okay? It gives us an idea. It gives us information so that we can continue to work on setting goals for that individual child. So let me back up for a minute here and go back to what I was saying about what the teachers receive. The teachers, I'm going to use third grade. Third grade teacher receives the scores that her students perform for this year's test. Well, that's great. And one of the reasons we do that in the fall is so that we can use that information to then build on it for the rest of the year. We can look at those areas of deficiency and say, how am I going to help this student? What am I going to do individual goals to work with this student? But we also look at it in terms of where they're doing very well and say, how can I challenge a student even more? And when we look at it when they're performing right in the middle, how am I going to make sure that I'm hitting those areas where everyone needs instruction? So it's very helpful to us on an individual student basis as it relates to the whole class. So third grade gets third grade students' scores. But second grade teacher also gets third grade students' scores. Why? Because those third graders, most of them were here for second grade, and they took the same test, and they had that same second grade teacher. So now the second grade teacher can look at those third graders' scores and say, I see that we did very well in this. Well, that's good. Okay, I need to make sure that I do the same thing here, or just make some changes because it worked really well. And we scored as we should here. Okay, that's good. Maybe make some tweaks to make it better. And we didn't score as well here. I need to do something different. So it's not about what's wrong with the child. It's what do we need to do as teachers to perform better for these kids. So I missed that gap. When I missed something here when they were in second grade. Third grade teacher is saying, got it, I'll work on that. Second grade teacher is saying, I'm not going to let that happen again. So it's a twofold way that we're looking at it. It's a more holistic way of looking at it, more full, more complete. And I'm very excited about how we use test scores. I will tell you, it's unique, and it's something that we don't want to stop doing as we look at the individual student. But I want you to see how it is that teachers use these scores and how we use these scores. And I also want to show you this one. This is just, again, an example. You know, right now our students take it in October. That's the third month of school. So the expectation of any of them is their grade 0.3. So 1.3, 2.3, 3.3, 4.3, 5.3. That's where they should score. Some are going to score higher than that. Some are going to score lower than that. Some are going to score right in the middle. Really, anything that's between, so let's just use third grade again. 3.3 is what is expected. Well, 3.0 to 3.6 is actually on target. But what we really want to see is a year's worth of growth from one grade level to the next, at least a year's, maybe 0.9 to 1.1 growth from year to year. So let me use this example here. This is a student here, to make sure I'm getting here. This is a student here, let's look at this portion of the score, that in second grade scored at 1.7 vocabulary. Okay, a little low, first year, first student, you can see that because in first grade they weren't here, it's grayed out, they didn't take the test. And in time, hopefully the longer they're here with us, they get it like this. We can see year to year over 5 years. But anyhow, I digress. I come back to this. This child scored a 1.7 in second grade. Okay, I need to work on that. Third grade, as a teacher, I need to work on that. Third grade, child scored 2.7. That's a full year's worth of growth. That's great. That's what we want, is at least a full year's worth of growth. So that's fantastic news. Then we look again. In fourth grade, scored 3.6. Almost a year's worth of growth, just as good. Fine, that's great. But then look right here. In fifth grade, that child scored 3.9. I'm sorry, yes, 3.9. That's concerning for a couple reasons. One, there's only 0.3 growth in 1 year. And secondly, is that in fifth grade, still not even at fourth grade level. As a fifth grade teacher, I'm going to look at that and say, I need to focus on that child in that area of deficiency vocabulary to help that child. I'm going to make sure they're reading books when they go to the library that are going to be most helpful to them. And the fourth grade teacher is going to look and say, that child only scored a 0.3 higher. Okay, I need to do something. What can I control? What in that deficiency is something I can control? And then we make the changes from there as a fourth grade teacher as well. So you can that's a quick example of how we use these scores. And again, I hope I answered questions that you might have had or addressed the areas where you might have had confusion or questions. If not, please let me know. Be happy to help you. But I would say first talk to your teachers. Set up a time to talk with your teachers, because what they're going to do is they will cut for you this student, your one individual student's scores out, give that to you and look at that with you so that you can see how your child is performing against herself or himself. Yes, it's against a standard, but now it's a standard against a grade equivalency and not other students. Again, everything has its merit. That's how we use it here at Mountain View Lutheran. Hopefully this helps. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Again, contact your teachers. Set up appointments with your teachers. They're more than happy to work with you and partner with you to help you better understand if there are questions, as well as to see what we're going to do to help your child. Our kids are great here. They're doing a great job. Our teachers are fantastic, and they're going to do what they can to help these children as well. And you're doing a great job because your kids are here, and also because you are taking the time to listen to this, watch this video, and ask questions. Where we can help, where we may be of service to you, please let us know. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day.